Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Hope you're doing well today. I am doing well. Had a few little roadblocks today and handling some business. Definitely some energetic vibes out there that trying to cause a little conflict and confusion, but I'm burning it down at every turn. Not me, not today, not on my watch, not in this lifetime. Smooth sailing and easeful execution is the mantra. And so it is. So anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope your Wednesday is off to a good start. Today is the 25th of October. Definitely sliding and gliding into Scorpio season. Happy birthday, Scorpio, as a matter of fact. I did say that on the 23rd, but it was like halfway through the message that I remembered to do so. The season of transformation, of endings and new beginnings, of exploring the depths of our psyche and psychology and psychological awareness and loving deeply, perhaps. I don't know why I said that because that's not really truly Scorpio, but kinda, I guess. Certainly expressing or at least engaging your raw, pure energy, and that being pure in the most organic form. Whether you label that good, bad, or indifferent, it's about it being organic and natural. So really exploring that, perhaps discovering it in new depths or at new, greater depths for the first time within your being. And I would say embracing it. So maybe that's why I said deeper love, or whatever I said about love. More intense self-love, I say, would be the expression of Scorpio. So good luck with that. Depending on your sign and who you are, it might not always feel like the most comfortable thing, but more or less, if you can find your way to a positive perspective of it all, is definitely productive, as these cards are. You can certainly manifest a great deal. You can work smarter as opposed to harder, manifesting from your purest form of energy, the depths of you that compel you to love and to passion and maybe even to pain in some regards, like knowing all of those aspects of yourself. What exactly makes you tick is the idea. And I've likened this card to, I remember there was a reading that I did about someone exploring the eighth house, or really going to the depths of the eighth house. Perhaps in your chart, maybe seeing what's in the eighth house in your chart and what's affected there. But in general, eighth house energy is all that I just expressed of Scorpio, where you're just going deeper to the root of you, and we're not always willing to go there. Not everybody wants to explore the underworlds and underloins of yourself, because it may not always be pretty and pristine, and it's raw power. So there's definitely the invitation always available, for sure, if you're willing to take it. But I think given we are in Scorpio season, there may be a thrust into some of those discoveries, and maybe even recognitions, and perhaps sometimes even confrontations, to really decide what's working for you and what's not. Maybe some things in your subconscious literally working for you with the Magician card, what's contributing to the highest expression of your energetic force, the efficiency of your manifestation power. Like you could put in hard labor. This is toil and labor and work and energy and focus on something so intently, and feel justified in that hard work, and there still be perhaps something lacking because, as I said, you're working smarter and not harder, and there may be something internally that could be working against you, that because it's so deep in the subconscious, psychologically, and you don't even realize it. You know, we're not really conditioned to know ourselves on a deep, dark level. We're conditioned to always look for the light and to stay on the surface, and ignorance is almost bliss in some regard, whether it be from external projection or just what's naturally comfortable to the human psyche, you know. Unless you have particularly a lot of Scorpio energy or high placement Scorpio energy in your chart, it just might not be your come from or your go-to. But those that do know very well that they're no stranger and usually have no fear to the death and transformation, death and rebirth process. They're usually willing to go through lessons that ultimately release a great deal of themselves and perhaps allow them to reemerge as something different and fresh and perhaps altogether new quite often. And I know I'm always like, I have this so much, I have that, and I'm a universal being. I mean, I just am. We all are if you really consider the scope of your chart, but I have Sag, what do I have? Jupiter and Scorpio. And we all know wherever Jupiter is that right? Yeah, right? Yeah, I have Pluto Libra. So yes, Jupiter and Scorpio. So wherever Jupiter is, we know that it's expansive, you know. So Jupiter being in the sign of Scorpio, I believe from my own, you know, in comparison, limited understanding of my chart, you know, well, of astrology. I believe that because of that placement, it almost makes me in some ways almost as Scorpio as I am Sagittarius, because my sun sign is in Sagittarius, obviously. So there's Jupiter there in the second house. And then I have I have Jupiter and Scorpio, which, it being that friendly sign of my sun sign, I feel from my understanding just expands that aspect even more than probably most, you know, unless you're actually like Pluto Scorpio, you know what I mean? Something like that, that's different. But yeah, so anyway, I come from the understanding of death and, you know, rebirth from a very personal experience. I've had spiritual deaths and rebirths many times over at this point in my life. So there's really not a whole lot that scares me in regards to change. I'm never afraid to end and begin again, you know, and that's ultimately a good aspect of life to have, you know, perspective of life, because life is ever changing. And you always want to be in the position, as the magician is, to just use whatever is on hand, like whatever resources are available, to make do and to make the most of it. Because of course, the Eight of Pentacles is not really an indication of making do, like having less than. It's actually someone that's quite productive, and maybe even prosperous, just two away from the full 10 of Pentacles, a dynasty, a legacy perhaps. So it's somebody that's really working on something intently with a lot of devotion and time. To me, I often see it as the type of work that you would do for free, you know, that it doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't feel like an obligation. It's a devotion. You feel engaged in it spiritually because of whatever energetic connection you have to it. And so therefore, that energy also contributes to how prosperous and productive you are, because you actually love what you're doing. So it just magnifies your results, perhaps times 8, maybe 10 even. So the magician is here as somebody that's, I just heard a miracle worker. Hold up, wait a minute. Like, that was clear as day. Wow. Definitely in line with the idea that I just expressed in terms of, you know, it being a spiritual work almost, or something you do from a spiritual incitement or at least a spiritually satisfied source, not a force at all. So maybe we're talking about the spirit of manifestation and what it truly entails, that it gets to happen from the space of ease and devotion, not obligation, not, feeling like you have to do anything, definitely not despair or fear. This is just someone that's doing what they love and using all the resources that they have to accomplish that, and making a quite favorable return doing it. So there's that. That's a good way to start. All right. Oh, I'm not taking that. It almost flipped, but it was like, it was a 3 of Swords, which is about fear, heartbreak. If it's supposed to come out, it certainly will, but that was too uncertain for me to flip it. Let's see what else we got. Because what energy it really gave me is like that projection that comes along when you are working, and it's usually from an outside force or source that tries to interfere with how easygoing things are happening for you. This is someone that's manifesting with ease. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a labor for him because it comes natural. He's working on what he loves, and for that reason, everything, look, as a matter of fact, I'm putting this up here because it makes so much sense. This is the result. Someone that is the head of their estate, that is wildly secure and stable in a material sense and an energetic sense. This could, if we're talking about spirituality, is someone that values their own spiritual gifts with this pentacle energy, and uses all of the essence of them to make spirit matter, if you get what I'm saying. So if we translate this into just simply gifts, not necessarily like money, which it is too, but it's, someone using, back to the 8th house energy, having gone through the trenches, the depths of the psyche, the depths of the soul, knowing what works for them, knowing what hasn't, but taking all the best of those elements and putting it to work in a positive way in their life, and devoted to creating something that is prosperous, that's not more of the less favorable, because you could take your poor experiences, your unfavorable experiences, and recreate those as well. But here's someone that takes the best of all things, alchemizes it with the Magician card, literally turns something into nothing as need be, or just turns a little into much. And this is the ultimate outcome of someone that is secure because of that investment, making sound investments in self, and now having the affirmity of stability and strength and security and all that they have to offer, all they've accumulated, all that they have invested in themselves, and perhaps even in others or things outside of themselves, to magnify that, not just material return, but also energetic enhancement. If we're thinking about the King of Pentacles in terms of gifts, this is someone that has mastered whatever ability he has. Maybe he figured out his abilities going through the 8th house, like, oh man, I can do this, I can do that. And he didn't, the evolution here is first the discovery and the cultivation of the gifts, and now this is the mastery of it with the King of Pentacles. Now he knows what he brings to the table, what he has to offer, what he's good for in terms of gifts, what his powers are, his strengths are, if we want to speak about it in a practical sense. But remember, I heard miracle worker. And we got the Magician card here, which is already an indication of something a little bit magical happening here. This is somebody that has really perfected his craft, and it now has put him in a position. I think it just speaks to not really not taking your spiritual gifts for granted in the ways that they can create stability and security in your material life. Because oftentimes we like think about a magician, you might think of that as child's play or mystical or, fantasy or whatever the case may be. Now, in a practical sense, it's not like necessarily pull a rabbit out of a hat or make whatever disappear, but in some regard, it kind of is. It's about really, overcoming some of the obstacles and feats that in a material sense, in a carnal sense in the world could be a stronghold for those that don't have the mindset to believe beyond what they can see. This is someone that knows that there's a deeper power within them that works when they put it to work, when they operate in the authenticity of whatever that brand of magic is to them, that it does in fact yield a great return, stability, security, and independence in its own regard, perhaps even prosperity, not even just the simple things in life, but the King of Pentacles is one that has more than enough, he likes the finer things in life. So maybe this is an encouragement to embrace the totality of you, the things that are mystical and magical and often unexplicable or definitely fantastical in some regard, and to allow them to work with you, if not even for you, in the ways that you're looking to stabilize yourself or secure a prosperous future. Oh, and what I was saying about the heartbreak card, it's like that's a projection of what would like to impose upon that flow of manifestation. Like I started this, nothing is ever a coincidence. I started this saying that I've had some hiccups with handling some business here and there, things that should go smoothly that were, kind of being resisted in one way, shape, or another. And it could incite me, to get out of sorts or start to operate in a different frequency, but it's like, nope, not doing that. Everything's working in my favor as it should, and all things are working for my good. And sometimes when you're freely operating on that frequency, there's an adverse energy that kind of likes to test or resist or obstruct or push back or push those buttons that would ultimately snap you out of that flow and would ultimately have all these chips falling down. It's almost like in meditation where you kind of got to stay focused, or even like consider a juggler, since we're talking about something fantastical. Like you kind of got to keep your eye on all the balls up. You got pause. But all the pins that you're juggling in the air, right? Not that the magician is a clown, but just to bring it to that fantastical level. You can't take your eye off it for a second, or they might all fall down, or at least one of them might fall out of orbit. And you might have someone in the room that might want to try to scare you or try to, shock you into distraction, or even the audience itself. If you get caught up in their oohs and ahs and whoa, or even their claps and applause or whatever, it could throw you off balance. And of course, such is the truth with something that is even more distractive, like something destructive or, restrictive coming your way. But if you continue to stay focused on what the goal is, this is like the process of cultivation here. This is the source of self-awareness, knowing the power that you possess and knowing what you're capable of, willing to put your hand to the plow, or at least your energy to work to bring the manifestation to life. And this is the eye on the prize. Literally, he has his eye on that coin, like knowing what you're worthy of, what the end result is supposed to be based on your initial projection of faith, and fortitude. The magician, of course, we know there are illusionary tricks in some regard, but in the way we're speaking of it spiritually, he has a certain confidence about his capabilities. He better, or he's a terrible magician, but he has a certain capability, a certain confidence about his tricks, the tricks of his trade, so to speak. And he's ready to put them into play for the purposes of expressing himself to be in that position that perhaps, is unique to him given the energy that he possesses. Not everybody can be a magician, even if you know the tricks. Trust me, I know, because I actually bought a kit for my son one time, and it was supposed to be for kids, but I gotta tell you, it was a little bit challenging. I ended up giving up on it, to be honest. And my magic is a little bit different, to be completely real with you. I work in a different fantastical way, but just practically so, not everybody can be a magician. And to that point, it's about the magic that works for you. So when you are operating in that vein authentically, organically, again, Scorpio energy, pure vibes, what is innate to you, not what works for somebody else, but what actually works for you, and also being clear what doesn't, that puts you in a powerful position. And no matter what tries to come your way to deter you from that focus, of course, sometimes it can be successful, but for the most part, and here's another 8. Look at that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's a 9. My bad. Sometimes it pierces through, sometimes things can throw you off balance, but if you can get yourself back into alignment, I feel like that's what matters most. Because life will be lifing for sure. But to stay in this, I do like the progression here from the 8, and that's exactly what that is. That state of independence and unbotheredness is what she represents in the 9 of Pentacles, where it's like, this life is working for me, not against me. It's almost a graduation. Like, this is someone that's really working hard, and this is someone that is, I can't even say working smart, because she hardly working. What's that saying? Like, working hard or hardly working? Yeah, that's her. Okay, so then we got the Tower. Well, we got the Chariot first. Do I want to keep going down, or I'll keep it cute. Let's put the Tower here. Yeah, and and this could even be those sudden changes and things like I was saying. Well, first of all, we do have the 4 of Swords. I'm just speeding through, but I'm sure you don't mind, because you probably prefer I pull more cards and keep it going anyway. I don't know, my spirit feels that. But for those of you that appreciate my delivery, I appreciate you. God is still working on me, okay? But anyway, so we got the 4 of Swords, which I would like to point out is the bypass of that 3 of Swords, which is that fear and that angst and even trauma, toxicity that is of the past that would like to return when you're actually doing well in life sometimes. And trust me, I'm not projecting that onto anyone or calling that into your life or mine for sure. I'm just saying it's more illusionary than anything. Shout out to the magician of things that try to pop up to create conflict or help or have you return to old cycles of toxicity and trauma to avert your attention from what you're juggling, what you're managing, what you're manifesting in real time. This 4 of Swords is you being past that. You always, you more or less committing to being in a space of even moving meditation, restful state of mind. When, perhaps you have a roadblock, you're not afraid to take a pause for the cause and allow things to kind of settle and the dust to clear as it will. You're not always fighting against the current. You're not always looking to push through the resistance, everything being a fight per se. Like, sometimes you can just kind of lay down on that sword, not in a self-sacrificial way, but knowing that you have truth on your side and leaving the 3 of Swords of which you've left behind, those energies that would have compelled you to get into like almost like a fight or flight mode is what I'm feeling. You leave that on the shelf. That was for another cycle, another lifetime, another year, perhaps even last week. But you kind of rest on your laurels that all is well. And as I said, life is working for you. As long as you are staying committed, here's the integrity piece that makes all the difference, right? The integrity is working your magic, being in alignment with what you're called to do or what you feel designed to carry out energetically, physically, in every way, shape, and form. When you're in commitment and devotion to an active contribution, as a matter of fact, to that, life kind of works for you. The heavy lifting is in the mind ultimately. So the Nine of Pentacles here is the expression of that, of somebody that is really secure and stable, and the accomplishments and accumulation of wealth that has been acquired at this time. It doesn't mean that she's necessarily rich or wealthy. It just means that she's content and secure with what she's accomplished and what she's acquired. That there's a certain sound spirit, with this energy, where there's an expectation for expansion. She's at the 9. So as I said, we're growing here, going from the 8 to the 9. There's only one more to get you to that 10, which is like I said, dynasty, legacy, can't even spend it in a lifetime type of energy. But this is how you get there, by staying in this space of energy and working your magic. That is your magic, as a matter of fact, because once you figure out what your trick of the trade is, you more or less continue that current of creativity by being in this state of unbotheredness. Like, no matter what the rest of the world is doing, if it doesn't directly affect you or have a major impact on or influence on what you feel guided to react and respond to by nature, consider she's in nature, then, you stay focused on your path. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Chariot card is an indication that that's where your success lies, how you move forward in victory, overcoming the great tragedies and sudden occurrences of the world, or in life in general, sudden towers that may persist, that just change the course of where you may have intended to go. When you cultivate an energy such as this, you can weather those sudden changes or obstacles, even if they if they present themselves to be such, with ease and with confidence and security, because the inner work has already been done. Even with the best intentions and the most secure, the security measures in place, the Chariot is definitely giving me police security measure vibes. The greatest security measures in place, you considered all the possibilities, all the outcomes, you made a plan, you outlined every projection, how long from point A, or at least you project from point A to point B all the way to Z. You could still have something come up and by way of universal order, just people in general, to say like, yeah, we're going to go this way. And so that means that you got to go that way, like things that you have to react and respond to, perhaps in an instant, maybe in real time. But such is life, and when you are secure with the power that works within you, as a magician is, that you can literally take whatever is given to you and make something positive and productive of it, then even the possibilities of a sudden change don't really scare you so much. You don't feel so anxious about what might not go your way, because if, God forbid, if anything were to shift according to expectation, you'll be in the position to handle it gracefully. That's what I'm sensing here. Oh, and look who popped up. I'm going to put you right over here because that makes sense. Just move on down, y'all. This is the counterpart of the Nine of Pentacles. The one that's still holistically safe, sound, and secure in the spiritual sense. After what? Any sudden changes, any sudden moves, and his foundation is still secure. He's not another one that's not bothered. This is more so in the masculine energy, though, with the Nine of Cups. And now we're moving ahead into not just material fulfillment with the Pentacles, but we're moving into spiritual and emotional fulfillment. Which I would say is more so a precursor before things materialize, as I was just kind of speaking on, when you cultivate this spirit of, what can I call it? I don't want to say unbotheredness, because it doesn't mean that you're apathetic to life. Like you're not moved one way or the other. It's just a contentment, and I'm not even getting complacency. It's a grace and a gratitude. That's what it is. This is the grace, this is the gratitude. That's what I'm feeling between these two energies. When you have those two intertwined in synergy, in on accord, there's really nothing that you can't face head on triumphantly with the Chariot card here. Grace and gratitude. Yeah. Maybe that's the Magician's power, perhaps. Let's see, what else can I get from this Tower card? I definitely get that there's some surprise endings perhaps occurring, though. For someone, maybe some ones, but I still feel, I feel like this is why I'm seeing that. It's like, and that's the reason for the projection, that some people are experiencing these uprooting moments because of the energy of karma and dharma that we're in, this justice, judgment season as it is, that some people are feeling uprooted, dismantled from their foundations, of security in some way. And not everybody does survive the Tower. But the disparity is exactly what I've been speaking of. Those that are operating in integrity, that also know the value of them is not in what is measurable. It's internal, as I was talking about gifts and things of that nature. And it's no coincidence that you got these two energies here that have shown up on this one line. Well, I put them there, but you know what I mean. Where there's this spirit of contentment, grace, and gratitude for life, that no matter what occurs, you still maintain a posture of thanksgiving and understanding and patience for things to just happen as they will, or for you to be able to respond accordingly. Not to say that you just should let life happen to you all the time, that sometimes there is the call for a very immediate, sometimes even urgent response to matters. But the urgency doesn't come from anxiety. It's not internally, whereas there's this anxiety or eagerness for survival, or mortality in some regard, or feeling a threat to your mortality. So you act, because sometimes when you do that, you act out of alignment, and it does either add more of a detriment to those surprise moments, or it delays them even longer than what they need to be, because the mindset and the spirit is off. Like I said, keeping those pins up in the air all at once. And then you get a notice that something that you were expecting isn't coming, or something is delayed that's supposed to be here, or whatever the case may be. And it shatters your whole world. All the pins come down just from that one distraction, I get the sense that there's definitely a disparity here with those that are having unexpected endings. We're in Scorpio season, so some things may perhaps be ending that weren't intended to be so. That's just the nature of the beast with this season, quite honestly. But it is a matter of perspective and posture to perceive it, Some are not in the position to do so because they haven't sown into their spirit in that nature. Some have sown more into the security of material things, i.e. what is measurable, what is the house, the car, even the accomplishments, like because sometimes with King of Pentacles, it's about like, well, it's definitely Taurus energy, so it's definitely, money and things of that sort too. But it also gives me Capricorn vibes when we're talking about position, established position, accomplishment, some expression of acknowledgement or projection of acknowledgement by way of, like, say, someone that has hella degrees or has a high level of position in a company or has acquired a great deal of rewards for whatever it is that they do. Some have staked their measurement of what do we say, confirmation and affirmation, and those things which we know can be here today, going tomorrow, that you could have that position one day and then the next day the company all goes downhill, that you could have a very plentiful bank account, and all, side note, depending on how you got it, whether it be in integrity, maybe it was with magic, but not in the highest vibration, some trickery or something of the sort. That could also be here today, going tomorrow, if the feds swoop in and say, we're going to seize all those accounts. So if that's what you've measured your value by, and it is so vulnerable to, for it to last, to be dependable, it could ultimately reflect the vulnerability in your human spirit, let alone in your actual physical being. If you only measure yourself by what you have, and if that all falls apart, then what's left of the man, truly. But as we do in Scorpio energy, arise from the ashes. That's what this is giving me. Oh, okay, that's interesting. To literally rise from the ashes of this burning tower and find your way back. This is literally the difference between material and emotional, from money and spirit, So to rise from the ashes and find your way back to satisfaction in the things that truly are sustainable, that are eternal, as a matter of fact, especially if you're nurturing it, meaning your spirit properly, intentionally, that can last that lasts your lifetime, whereas money may not. Your soul is eternal, so rising from the ashes of a great disturbance is ultimately much more of a great feat than someone that could even lose all their money and then gain it back again, So to me, it's definitely speaking to matters of spirit here that are measurable and immeasurable, and which one you most connect yourself with, or align yourself with. And perhaps that is the disparity here, that if there is any shift or change to occur, maybe even globally so, as things are happening all the time, that we never can quite pinpoint what the government is going to do, or what the conflicts, how the conflicts of the world are going to pan out. And it affects us all individually and collectively, but that stable ground comes more from this spirit of spiritual contentment, this position of spiritual contentment, and also energetic stability, knowing that the power is working within you and for you, no matter what major shifts might occur otherwise. But I definitely see something rocking the boat for some people. I do. That's Tower. I think that there are differences on how you see it and how you respond. And also, it being under the King of Pentacles, what may seem like a great detriment in some regard might actually be an upgrade, or maybe it is a detriment to some, but it actually might be a great upgrade for others. Here's the Page of Cups. A message that can sometimes be this or that, respectively. You never quite know what's in that cup. It could be a term of endearment. It could be an apology, some message of affinity, or I said endearment already. And then we got the High Priestess here, and then this powerful energy surge with the Ace of Wands. So this is some type of secret power, secret force, secret creativity. Let me see. Let me get some more on here. Oh, okay then. Secret union. Sacred union with the High Priestess. Okay. Of high level passion, might I add, with this Ace of Wands here. That's a lot of passion between perhaps two people, or one for another, to another. This Page of Cups, though. Why is he so small? Somebody's been, so somebody's been healing from a tower. Is that what we're saying? Yeah, here's the struggle here. Someone is overcoming some great struggle or trauma. Ouch. But why is it here, but this is here? It's like everything is kind of out of order. Why is that? Hold on a second. Because we got the Page of Wands offering over into the distance when it's like this is a message, but it's where is it going? You got the High Priestess here. Now here is the energy being offered from a divine source with force for a union, some agreement, some commitment perhaps. This is the end of struggle and cycle. A struggle and cycle. But I'm just confused, come on, Spirit, as to why it's here. Why is it at the end and not the beginning? Why is it, I don't know why I'm fixated on that, but it's bothering me. Is it that somebody's still trying to release some burdens from, it's like the intention is all there and it looks like even the work has been done. This is like okay, hold on now. God dang it, hold on. Because this situation is under the tower. So there's been some big shakeup or disturbance in some regard. Is this telling me why this is that? That because that how this was handled, maybe? I have been talking about the disparity in mindset and response and reactions. So maybe this is telling me a story about what has occurred and how it was responded to. And this is the outcome. Something still just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, you guys, and I'm stuck for a reason, because there's something I'm supposed to really grasp here. I'm never this stuck. The power is the centric force. I mean, it's at the end because it is the end. But I'm stuck on how you could offer something having acquired this position of stability and security. Now, the offer is pretty small with the Page of Cups, if I might say, and it's, you have to, consider it at all costs. Oh, so this is what projection and interjection, as I thought. So this is a sacred union that is secure and stabilized by the centric energy here. And this is like the outside projections and interferences that have ultimately, because now I'm seeing this completely different, like almost someone that's wanted to present himself as a wish fulfillment to this union, but ultimately this is what he brings to the table, is all this struggle. Now, the derivative of the Nine of Pentacles, okay, I got it now. Even here, where somebody has been, this reading just took a whole different turn. That's crazy. Everything of what I said was real. It's true. But this is giving me that's why I'm like, what the heck is this? It's literally making me scratch my head. Magician vibes. In the upright, everything I said is real. But remember, that heartbreak card tried to peek out, and I was like, am I taking that? Didn't quite all the way flip over, so I'm like, no, we not on that vibe. There's an energy trying to pierce through here of something that is inevitably positive that is happening. There's a trajectory of success that is happening here. And it's like, say, a masculine working hard. I went on a whole rant about measuring yourself by material expression. This is the energy here that's been working hard to present himself to be a King of Pentacles, almost to, create an illusion here as to his value, for the sake of ultimately gaining some, who the heck knows, but there's definitely an impending relationship here, or putting himself in a false position to express some value of a power couple. That's what this is giving me here, with another individual. And that's been dismantled, because they're both independent in their own nature and have their own objectives. And here's the police force in the midst of it. So there was something that was, low vibrational, that's been worked on over and over again for the sake of creating this empire. This is the empire, and this is it falling down. This energy was trying to position himself to make an offer with what he has left of these 9 cups, and it doesn't appear to be much down to the page. But I'm getting the sense that it's definitely been laid to rest, and it's like it's too late, and that's why I'm like, why is this here, but this is here and this is here? The offer has missed the mark, because this person isn't in the upright spiritually to make an offer, which is why it's questionable with the fish in the cup. Remember, I said the rabbit out the hat. It's like a diffused magician, like he's been depleted of his pure energy. Once upon a time, he perhaps actually did have some power in some regard, or at least he presented himself to be able to do so enough to create an illusion of power and prestige. And now it's like he's being exposed and depleted down to his pure essence. And this actually kind of does give Scorpio vibes, at least when I see it sometimes. I think about my son, who is a Scorpio. So I see it as like a scorpion kid, you know what I mean? But I think it could also be Pisces, definitely with that fish in the cup, right? But this is a demotion by way of the spirit, though, as it's progressing after this Nine of Cups. If he had actually been more focused on his spiritual fulfillment, that would have changed the entire trajectory of this outcome as it was. It's like he's trying to get on the bandwagon now that things have kind of been dismantled in the way that he was pursuing them. But it's a little bit too late, literally here with the Page of Cups, because ain't no way. It's facing the opposite way for a reason, because the High Priestess is not accepting a Page of Cups offer. This is the divine feminine energy here. Coming up under the Nine of Pentacles, who's someone that is secure and stable, whether she's alone or not. So that means she's not desperate for no partnership. She could be secure by herself if need be. You know, she's in divine alignment. And this, you know, take it how it resonates, masculine, feminine. But for sure, for the purposes of this union here, this is how I'm feeling it. So it's like this is a rejected offer laid to rest here, right? And there's been, you know, the High Priestess is in divine devotion to what is righteous, which the Ace of Wands, in terms of passion, would be the only thing righteous of an offer for a High Priestess when we're talking about passion, pure passion, right? Not, you know, ideally, definitely the Ace of Cups, but here is the expression of Cups, where two people, perhaps the High Priestess, who's also dressed in blue and white here, is in agreement, on the same page, sharing mutual feelings with someone that ultimately has completed some heavy, burdensome cycle and ultimately has done so in integrity. You know, that is truly of a wish fulfillment, a derivative of this purely, that has gone to the depths, as I spoke about earlier, of that 8th house, really scoured, you know, the psyche to find out what's going on in here, what needs to change, and what can I continue with. And that's a tough cycle, you know, for anyone. That's a tough journey. It's not easy. Whether you have Scorpio in your chart, of course, that could make it easier. But depending on the placements, even that is questionable. So someone that ultimately is almost like he pulled a rabbit out the hat, a miracle worker. That's it. That's what it is. He ultimately was resurrected from some great challenge and trial, perhaps a spiritual death. I talked about that as well, where 10 of Swords, that's almost like carrying your own cross. Literally is how I see that sometimes. Now, after having completed that mission, it's up to you how you continue to carry that burden on, and what you, as I was saying before, what you release, literally, Scorpio, all Scorpio vibes, what you release and what you assume, you know, perhaps releasing it all if it calls for that, or certainly all but the one. But that just changed the whole idea of this message in a way that I was not. But that's the Magician for you. I said it. I was like, 3 of Swords. That don't even make sense. It was so When I say projection, it's like when people or places or even things, it's more intentional, and the intentionality of people, and it often happens by way of your psychological vulnerability or impressionability, that people can ultimately give to you either what they're experiencing, you know, like this is how you feel, and you consume it for self or assume it. People that are very vulnerable often assume it without even knowing that they're taking on that impression. It just almost becomes a part of the psyche, and then ultimately does spill into how you manifest, because it runs as an undercurrent to the whole operation of you. Like I said, if you're vulnerable or particularly empathic, that thing can happen to you as a child. Page of Cups energy here. It can happen through your childhood experiences, from those that took care of you, kind of passing on their trauma to you inadvertently or purposely. It happens both ways. From your surroundings, from your circumstances. Say you lived in the hood all your life, and some of the traumas and toxicities that may not even that you experienced necessarily directly, but may have even happened around you, can become a part of your self-awareness and your awareness of your surroundings beyond that place and time, and can make an effect on how you see your ability to manifest beyond that. Case in point, someone that comes from the hood and you make your way out, but you still carry a poverty mindset in some regard. You still don't see the full potential of your own energy and vitality. You may even be conditioned to work hard and even hoard money because you're afraid that you might return to that state of poverty again, physically so, when actually it's a current that's running mentally, emotionally, that needs to be released, so that that transition can happen where you are working smarter and not harder, and that you're working from the manifestation power that works within you naturally, if you allow it to be so, maybe even discovering what that actually is, as opposed to kind of like, what was the word I just heard? Like overcompensating for what you haven't discovered of your own pure energy and pure power by working in ways that, like, consider you have gifts and talents, but you never were encouraged to cultivate that as a way for making an honest living or secure living. So you just go to work every day in a job that you actually hate because that's the way to secure, your own stability. No, you never really saw anybody in your family be an entrepreneur or be or have the courage to jump out on their own gifts and talents and make a living out of it, or things like that in a practical sense, but very small examples. Definitely don't mean to be the generalization of the entire message, but just to give you some idea of what we all, in some regard, in different ways, uniquely get to break free from. Because as I said, a lot of the projection that gets to happen is before we even know who we are, especially emotionally. So before we even truly are given the rights to our own energetic force independently. We're told what to feel, we're told what to say, we're told how the proper way to respond and react. We're told taught manners and courtesies and the appropriate responses and reactions in certain situations based on whomever is governing us during those delicate years. So I'm seeing this in a whole nother light now. And that projection piece, that toxicity, that Three of Swords, it's like it tries to pierce through and bring you back to this docile moment just when you're in the space of really breaking out into this sovereign creative force right here, and submission only to that supreme nature that you are most connected with the High Priestess here. This is not just the illusion of spiritual magic or fantastical magic. This is actually the current of it, because someone in the High Priestess vibes is surrendered, and I should say submitted to the internal force that works within them and their supreme being. That's the projection of power that emits in real time, like in a physical form. That's what becomes the matter of that spirit with this Ace of Wands card. This is like divine creativity and inspiration for self and outside of self. And again, passion, but pure passion, not perverted passion, not by way of what you've been projected to feel or do or think you're worthy to be, do, or have. This is something that comes from an intangible source and force that ultimately affirms the most supreme nature of you, that again, that can't be measured by what you can acquire in a physical way. You know, that's something that can't be touched, but it will be impressed upon by adverse forces, whether they be intimate to your being, or, as I always like to say, universally, globally, nationally, everything that's kind of coming at us right now as humans, to kind of make us coil back into this space of fear for our own vitality, you know, or fear of our mortality in some regard, is the projection that ultimately can. That's why I was like, why is this burden here? It can put a burden, make you assume a burden that really doesn't even belong to you anymore. You know, that's not for a burden that's not for you to carry, a struggle of a cycle that's been long gone, that doesn't even apply to you in this lifetime anymore, that you've cultivated by way of your dedication, this supreme energy and creativity that's supposed to be the force that carries you through, you know, this new expression and experience of life. And anything that is objective to that, even in the way that it persists by way of sudden experiences, is more or less an illusion, you know, that you get to confront or create from in your own unique way. It just depends on how you perceive it, really. You know, so now I'm seeing it because, and I'm feeling like I saw it as like that projection of this person who's presenting themselves to be, especially with this relationship card here, is that spirit will come to you to pacify you in your so-called moment of despair or need, or even just question and consideration of what's next, as everything that you need it to be, or that you ever desired it to be. Hence the wish fulfillment here with the Knight of Cups, that we ultimately discovered is really a Page of Cups when it comes down to it, you know, presenting itself to be a King of Pentacles when he's just working on his next lick ultimately, and, you know, creating the next illusion by way of which he can come up from ultimately. And it can work feminine or masculine, but I'm just saying it by way of the energy of the cards. That would certainly bring more burden than it would blessing to a union such as this, where one person is surely pure in their intentions, but the other is carrying a great deal on their back, and maybe even unbeknownst to you with the High Priestess energy here. The point that I'm making here, I think, is to be mindful with this new expression of evolution that is occurring in spirit and in truth, of these invitations to connect with others, you know, ultimately with wolves in sheep's clothing, that may present themselves to be harmless, even docile in some regard, or present themselves to have some sweet affinity for you, or admiration for you, or love for you in some regard, and some, you know, pure intention to be in connection, to caution yourself against those ideals, because the disparity that I spoke about, where some people are definitely receiving favorable outcomes for their past sowing, they're reaping a different reward than those that have sown in a very low vibrational way, and maybe looking to offset their cost or their loss by way of your great fortune, your divine stability, your overly infused power, by way your favor ultimately, you know, to bring their burdens to you, to take the load off by way of what you have to offer. And it could be in a material way or just energetically. People just find one that are in despair, wanting to find some respite for their soul in safe places, you know, that have the ability to offer that. They may even have the ability to offer, like I was talking about earlier, particularly empathic energies that are almost a magnet for this type of vibration that I'm speaking for, because they're always open to wanting to heal, wanting to help, wanting to serve. And so those that are looking to plug into that source usually find their way to it first before it recognizes what it is. But you, as the high priestess, assuming that I'm speaking to you, and whether you be masculine or feminine, or even the magician who's aware and the upright of his own power and mystique and knows how to use it, knows in the King of Pentacles vibes what to connect with and what not to, what to invest in and what to withhold from. You're in a position to know the difference, to know how to protect yourself from those forces that might want to either project onto you some level of fear and trauma and toxicity that doesn't even belong to you, or was never perhaps even yours to assume or consume, or those that want to offset their burden onto you for their own relief, or that want to siphon from your energy to soothe their own discomfort. Any of those situations is a cautionary tale indeed, because when you do align with those energies, whether it be intentionally, I mean, of course, the prayer is for those that are in the best intentions to be protected. But in this, I think I'm saying all this because in this climate now, we've all been gifted with the spirit of discernment for the very purposes of securing our own sovereignty, that we're not to rely on an external force as codependently as we have before, for that grace and gratitude that we've ultimately been cultivating within our own being. We've had the experiences in our lifetimes to kind of know and have the intel now of what feels right, what looks good, and what doesn't on all accounts, and what's a pure alignment with that's the point of digging through that pure energy, so you know what is truly yours. Thank you, Spirit, that makes sense. What is truly yours and what is projected. Those that don't go to the depths of those experiences to know, oh, I'm triggered by X, Y, and Z because of my childhood experience of X, Y, and Z, not because this is really something for me to absorb or to react and respond to, because that's how the adverse energy can use you as a force in favor of their own agenda or against some other unintended target or unintended by you, unsuspecting target, just by way of almost redirecting your energy in a way that is gratifying for it as the manipulator, you know? But when you know what is your shit, you know what I mean? You know why you get triggered, you know what triggers you, you know what you've healed from, you know what you still need a little bit of work in, you know why you have a spirit of resistance against one thing or another, why you might even still have some residue of a poverty mindset, or all of those deep dark things that sometimes we just want to leave in the past, and we want to continue on as if it doesn't exist, and maybe lean on our accomplishments or our material world to express to us who we really are, aside from our past or the darkness that lies within us. You make yourself more vulnerable and susceptible for someone else to come in and tell you how you truly feel by their account or their projection, or how you should feel, even worse, by their projection. You make it easier for yourself to be plugged into and, almost wound up, powered up, like they say, put the battery in your back as to how you express that energy, which should ultimately be contained for you and exclusively in favor of the most powerful manifestational outcomes that you can create in a productive sense, not utilized by any other external force outside of you, whether it be intimately or up to universally, to do things that either aren't in your best interest to do, or that you're completely even unaware are happening on your watch and on your vibration, let alone. So that's why I said all of that to say why I keep harping on this 8th house energy, especially with the new moon. We had a new moon with the solar eclipse, which should have brought a lot of exposure to people, places, and things that may need to be released for you to have a total rebirth or regeneration of something more productive in your life. There's that, but now we're heading into, in the next few days, a full moon, which is going to be a lunar eclipse, which is what may finalize some of the fatalities of those things that have been discovered, and maybe you may have even been dragging your feet on a little bit, or to finalize the fate of what truly gets to carry, you get to carry with you by your own, more or less, I would say that when the tower is here, sometimes that means things kind of, the universe has to step in on our accord based on our resistance to make change. So I guess I'm saying this so that you feel incited to allow the necessary changes to occur, to allow yourself to lose what is no longer serving, people, places, or things, or to release yourself from things that are no longer serving, whether they be emotions, ideas, mindsets, habits, ways of being, possessions, obsessions. With Scorpio energy, we can definitely even talk about obsessions in the spirit, things of that nature. Why you hold on to things the way that you do, what really is the undercurrent of you, that operational force fuel. This is the season that all of it gets to be fleshed out. That this is that time with the full moon in Scorpio. Well, it's not going to be in Scorpio, but in the Scorpio season and a lunar eclipse. Brace yourself to release the things that it's just time to do so. And I guess that's why I was harping so much on cultivating a stable, a grounding of grace and gratitude, even for yourself and for others, for other things, for things outside of you, because it may drudge up some discomfort, as I said, in the complacency of connection to those people, places, and things, or even to the things that you learn or discover about yourself that it's time to release. And you may want to hold on. As I said, sometimes your response to that tower is what can delay the ending outcome, or you getting over it quicker than you typically would, or delaying the effects of it, because your mindset has been disrupted to feel like something is happening to you, as opposed to it happening actually for your favor and for your good. So I don't know. Well, I'm gonna let it go here because this just went round and round. But I know you got something out of it. You're sitting in the high priestess position with the power and authority of creativity from the divine, and regardless of whether you see or actually are in the experience of partnership, you do have support. That's what I would like to say. In spirit and in truth, there is support and people that are either don't feel like you're alone, because they're either people that are experiencing exactly what you are, can relate, or those that are actually in a position to be in co-creation with you in a very powerful and forwarding way, to either help finally overcome and release this cycle of burden and struggle for good, for once and for all. Like, really get over that hump and drop those burdens where they lie, where you picked them up at ultimately, and really start to cultivate this true space of gratitude and grace and wish fulfillment in its most holistic form, devoid of the projections that we've allowed to deter us otherwise. And they come up, that's why I kept saying it. It's like, if you are open to it, vulnerable to it, just like I had to kind of make a decision on that Three of Swords heartbreak card. It's like, is this what we're entertaining? No, we are not, because that's not the season of energy that we're in at this time. That's not the current that I'm cultivating in my being, to be fixated on toxicity and trauma of my past. There's so much that I've overcome and am excited to release in this very season alone, that I may still be unaware that I'm carrying, that no longer belongs to me. That's my expectation of forward movement, to truly be in submission and surrender to whatever needs to be completely long gone, so that I can operate in this function here. And in the proper partnerships, business and personal, professional, intimate, platonic, all that is ordained to me, that, that I'm supposed to be in at this time. No fake offers, put them to the side. No more unnecessary struggle and burden. That's off to the side. We're done with that. We're just focusing on the center of divine creativity and inspiration that ultimately fuels all of my for my creative force to continue to manifest positivity and prosperity, and to be the executor of the estate of such. That's my intention and my objective. So, and here it is. I said, didn't I talk about this earlier with the high priestess? I said, well, really, she likes the Ace of Cups, but but the Ace of Wands ain't nothing to shake a finger at now. We here for the passion too, for sure. But this is that overflowing, unconditional love, that well of spiritual satisfaction, security, expression, that flows from the inside out. That not only, it's like that continuous fountain, like those fountains where it just kind of recycles the water, but it looks like it could be new water, like in the purest way is what I'm saying. That there's like a pump internally that keeps the spring going. That's what we want to cultivate in our being, and it's from that divine alignment, that submission to supreme self, where you can't be stopped and won't be stopped, because this is a well that never runs dry. You're not looking to quench your thirst outside of yourself from some external source, or force or affirmation or confirmation, nourishment, whether it be an outside person, place, or thing. It's internally cultivated first and foremost. And when that is the case, this is the place and time where, although it looks like a vulnerable space, that's like, oh, anybody could just come up and just take a sip, right? But it's not, because when this is an implication that you're secure from a supreme standard. It's not just, I'm not saying anything less about the Queen of Cups, because she's dope in her own right. But this is like a surrender to you in your greatest form. And it really, when you're vibrating on this frequency, although you may be tempting on the outside looking in, and though people may fall into the temptation of wanting to try you, usually it's hard to really siphon this type of energy, because you're so secure in who you are, where your value truly springs from, where your resources are most sound, and plentiful. And you don't really want for much outside of yourself energetically or emotionally or spiritually. So it puts you at a too great of a of a vibration and a frequency for anybody that's operating with lower intentions to be a trickster, or to, pull the wool over your eyes, or even manipulate this force to really be able to do so. Because any tactic that they bring to the table is ultimately self-sabotaged in some regard. It usually backfires right on them. Anybody that tries to be manipulative, whether it be directly to you or around you or about you, maybe even talking to other people about you, definitely getting that with the Page of Cups vibes, speaking on you negatively or not in holistic truth in some regard. Or again, as I said, trying to project a thought to you that is not organic, trying to impose and impress an emotion upon you to absorb, is hard to do in a well that is divinely ordained and anointed, where someone knows, like, no, I'm blessed and highly favored. I deserve the riches and glory and wealth of heaven, right here in earth. I am worthy to be loved unconditionally. I have a wealth of creativity and knowledge and resource at my fingertips. I desire nothing. My value is immeasurable by human or physical standards. It's within me. I am invaluable. Somebody that's on that vibration, you can't come to them telling them they ain't shit. You can't come to them telling them to be afraid for their lives, to be afraid of their mortality, to be afraid of poverty, to be afraid of not being recognized or appreciated, or be afraid to love in that regard, to be afraid to express their creativity, to be afraid to rest on their own ideas and their own intuition and discernment. You can't taint these waters with those types of energies on any level. It's hard to do it. Now, this means that you got to be like that pump, always giving yourself that unconditional source of love in every way, that you got to take good care of yourself to maintain the operation of this fountain. It doesn't mean that, there's no responsibility or accountability on you. But once you get to a place like this, it's like a high that you never want to come down from. You're almost ultra sensitive to anything anything tainting those waters, because you've worked so hard to get to this place of purification in the first place. Pure energy, like I said. So, as long as the work is cultivated within you continuously, this is devotion and the dedication here, you already are a force field, a fortress all your own. And anything that tries to, just like in this reading, like whole time, and I still stand by what I said in the beginning, but it can try to impose and interject some impression that, to pull the wool over your eyes or say, no, this is what it really is, not that. But ultimately, it will reveal itself, and you will see beyond the veil, to perceive it as exactly what it is, a lie. Because we know the devil is a lie, not a liar, but a lie, a falsehood that is projected to you about yourself to make you feel less than deserving and divine, to be, do, and have all that's already been divine to you by design. So there's all that. Last but not least, and here's that objective force right here. But I ain't even going to go in with the Five of Swords. That's the intention, to be a destruction, a distraction, to win at all costs, to just really be destructive, ultimately. To, as I said, pull the wool over your eyes, get one up on you. But that energy is always going to be on the outside looking in. It ultimately, why we call it the self-defeated card, like it defeats itself, this energy, because it needs something outside of itself to survive, whereas you don't. That's the difference. That's the greatest disparity between you and any oppositional force that you could come up against that means you harm, not for the purposes of, actually building character or, building your strength, which is what you alchemize it to be by way of the magician and the high priestess, by the way, and the Ace of Cups with spirit's help and support with creativity and the Ace of Wands. That's the gifting of those that have the intention to be in devotion to their highest self. That's the force that you operate on. The force that looks to be an obstruction and destructive to others is always going to need the affirmation of that outside validation in order to feel anything at all, in order to even perceive themselves to be powerful. It's only contingent upon who they can conquer or what they can conquer or destroy or block or, what's the right word, like deceive in some way, however they can get over on the person, place, or thing, whatever circumstance. That's the ceiling of their measurement of value. So as long as somebody's operating in that force and refusing to shift in any way, shape, or form, they'll always fall short. they'll always fall short. Even if they call themselves taking a sip of your divine wine here, it still won't satisfy their thirst. It won't satiate. I don't know why I'm saying that, but their desire for always needing more and more and more. There's never a contentment here. And so ultimately what happens is they will either meet their match either by way of you and being forced to make a shift and change because there's no point of entry here. Or like I said, they'll self-destruct and ultimately meet their match of destruction, someone that's just as intentional of causing chaos and confusion and resistance as they are, and they can fight it, fight to the death in their own regard, or and back to death and rebirth vibes, right? They'll be incited to make a shift of mindset and perspective to see how they can obtain this same spirit of ascendance and transcendence for whatever is lacking as to why a person in that eighth house, as to why a person would need or lurking, I should say, even if not lacking in that eighth house energy, as to why a person needs to even be validated in such a way in the first place. One way or another, everybody wins because you'll still be standing, doing what you do best, just flowing like the fountain of life or youth or whatever you want to call it. What is it? The fountain is it the fountain of life or the spring of fountain? I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say. And they'll either be destroyed by their own hand, which, is transformation and it's at its finest, or I should say at its lowest, rather, or they'll be changed to make a shift and a forwarding change of mindset on their own, which is definitely transformation at its finest. Everybody wins. So be not afraid. Don't be worried about any opposition or resistance you might face in this season or the next. Know that everything is happening for you, not against you, to bring you to this state of overjoy, overflow in the spiritual sense and in the natural sense. In your energetic field, for you to be lacking for nothing is the intention of the divine for those that are willing to receive it. So everything that might be causing a blockage or a burden or a bruise or a default or tainting or whatever the case may be, any obstructive force in the way of this flow is kindly but surely being, maybe not even so kindly in some cases, but surely, let's say, certainly being removed at this time. Everyone is getting to reckon with the purest form of their energy, how it's been operating, how it has not been, and what can or will be done to make that shift, that transformation accordingly. All right, so that's it. That's all. Thank you for listening. I hope you could follow that little roller coaster of a ride there. And I hope you understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about the projection piece and how it showed up even here in real time, and how I was kind of like stuck right here. Like, well, what is this? This doesn't make sense. That's how that energy works. It's only here to cause a distraction from what you know innately. I knew what I was seeing, what was the centric focus here was this high priestess, this ace of wands, and this relationship here. All of this side show action is something that is past, gone, and doesn't even really matter anymore. It only has as much presence as you allow it to take up, allow it to present. And such is the case in life, in spirit, and in truth, in real time, that these distractions can only have as much power over your reality, over your manifestations as you give permission for them to do so. Okay, so take your power back. Keep focused on your manifestations in the highest vibration and the most ideal and favorable formation. And you yourself, in that same regard, being a limitless source of power here and an overflowing expression of wealth and pure power and energy in your own right, needing no affirmation, no confirmation outside otherwise. It's just you. All right. So do you accordingly. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Until next time, peace.